The Jets and Blues is the hardest hitting series in these playoffs. 266 penalty minutes, 425 hits between them, by far the most in this postseason. So we shouldn't be surprised the coaches are now taking shots at each other as well. The most contentious issue, how did Mark Scheifele get hurt? And is the league allowing things to get out of hand?
Let's make it clear. 55 got hurt from the Faxa hit. He played 6 minutes after the Shen hit. He didn't come back after he got rocked by Faxa.
Well, I didn't know Monty got his medical degree. I'm trying to say how our player got hurt. He's way off base. Should not make that comment. There's some things that have been going on in this series, and that was a repeat of what we've seen before. A player leaving his feet and then hitting a player in a very unprotected spot, like hitting them in the sense almost blindsiding them. Not happy how the call was made. 2-minute minor. Not even looking at it is what I was upset about. And it is something that we have talked to the league about for 5 games.
To be clear, we have no idea how or when Scheifele actually got hurt and why he had to leave last night's game. But Marty, there's a lot to unpack here. First off, let's talk about the Shen hit on Schiffley. Should that have been more than a 2-minute minor?
I see it as a 2-minute minor, and I know that Matthew Tkachuk got a 5-minute major for the very similar hit. But look, Tkachuk was unnecessary. It was at the end of the game. This is a physical player making a physical play on a big player like Scheifele. I think that the referees could have called a 5, and if they had looked at it, they probably would have gone down to a 2-minute minor for interference. But there was an elevated aspect to the hit that is dangerous, right? Shen is smaller than Schiffley, so to make a bigger impact, he's going to launch upwards, and that is where Schiffley is not expected to hit, and not only that, it hits him pretty high. So, yeah, I could see where Scotty Arniel has a bit of a bone to pick with how it was called. So many times these playoffs, we've seen referees calling a 5-minute major so they can get a look at it. Why don't you use that tool? And if you see that it needs to be a 5, you at least have been taking a look at the replay. And for interference, by the way, you can give a 5 without having a game misconduct attached to it. So it could have been just a 5-minute penalty, and Shen would have returned later. So, look, I think that the Jets have a point when it comes to the hit. I see it as probably a 2-minute minor penalty, but it could have definitely been a 5 on the play.
Now, in fairness to Arniel, he was furious about a lot more than just that one hit. He says this has been a pattern, that he's actually spoken to the league about the calls being dangerous, the hits of being dangerous through the series. Does Arniel have a point, or is he maybe just putting these public call-outs out there so the refs call it a little tighter moving forward?
I think Scotty Arniel has a point. Now, it is a physical series, so I think both teams should be involved in that physicality. And the Jets are a little behind the St. Louis Blues right now. But the biggest thing is that the Blues are targeting the Jets' best players. And right now, Scheifele is a big guy, but Cal Connor is not a huge guy. Josh Morrissey is not a big guy. And the Blues have been targeting Connor and Morrissey. You know, even hits that don't look like anything. Morrissey got hit in last game where you don't get the body, but you drag your leg and you catch the leg. These hurt. And look, they don't look like much, but every time you get hit like this, it leaves a mark. And I believe that the Blues, and they should, like the Blues are, you know, the 8th seed in the Western Conference. They're looking at the Jets saying the best team in the Western Conference, the best team in the league. We're going to circle some guys on the board and we're going to go after them. But right now, what the Jets have to do is they have to respond with the physicality. You don't want to cross the line. But I like what Scott Arniel's doing. He's not only saying, look, the league has to pay attention, the referees have to pay attention, but this is a rally point. Like the Jets lost 2 games in St. Louis. They were up after 1 period. Scheifele wasn't going to come back. He wanted to let everybody know, I've got your back. You guys come with me. We're going to win this game. And then we're going to go to St. Louis and we're going to win game 6 and we're going to move on. So I think that he's using this as a rally point, but it does have also a point with the way that the series have been going. St. Louis taking some liberties on the star players on the Winnipeg Jets.
All right, we got to get back to Montgomery's comments now. We got a pretty good idea of what Montgomery was trying to do with those comments about when Scheifele was hurt. it seems like he's trying to protect Shen from supplemental discipline. But did Montgomery cross the line by saying he knows when Scheifele got hurt?
Absolutely. Montgomery crossed the line. He was wrong. He's wrong in many different ways. Number one, he's wrong saying that, look, it's not the Shen hit that hurt 55. He doesn't want to say his name. He knows that's Mark Scheifele. But he says it's not that hit, it's the Faxa hit. You don't know. I mean, multiple hits could have different effect on players. And he's also wrong when he said he didn't return after the Faxa hit. No, he came back and played almost a minute shift at the end of the period and then didn't return for the start of the second. So there could have been a lot happening there. There was other hits in that period that could have made Schiffley uncomfortable, and he played through. But by the time he got to the locker room and he sat down, he's like, oh, I'm not feeling good about certain thing. We don't know what it is. But yes, Jim Montgomery crossed the line. If he wants to just say, and somebody asked about the Shen hit, no, it's a penalty. That's all right. Look at your player, say it's a penalty, nothing more, but you don't have to go in details about somebody on the other team and when did they get hurt and how did they get hurt and what they're suffering from. You have no idea. Nobody knows other than the Jets. I think that's a line you cannot cross, and Jim Montgomery was wrong to cross it. He was also wrong in the facts, so he was a double wrong in that whole situation.
As for Scheifele himself, the only update Arniel had was that he's going to be reevaluated. Game 6 goes Friday night in the hostile confines, once again, of the Enterprise Center in St. Louis.